drunk with the intent of getting drunk, I was 9 years old. I was 11 years old when I blacked out for the first time. And I pretty much drank alcoholically and abused drugs like that for the next 25 years. Lots of consequences came along with my drinking, broken relationships, loss of jobs, lots of geographical changes, trying to escape the consequences. And my life kind of came to a screeching halt when I pretty much didn't want to live anymore when I was 33 years old. And I
Yeah.
ended up in a rehab. And in that rehab, some pretty profound things happened.
What's happening, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of the Real Drug Talk podcast. My name's Jack Nagel, and on this show, we talk about all things alcohol, drugs, addiction, and addiction recovery. Hey, today's show was really cool, really interesting for me, and actually got me a little bit inspired and going a little bit. This guy talks about recovery in a really inspiring way. We had Mike on the show from the US, from Las Vegas. I forget the name of his Instagram page off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the show descriptions. He's putting out some really awesome content and knows how to use social media and stuff like that. So he's getting some reach and connecting with people. But most importantly, talks about like the good things about recovery and the possibilities, and talks about a story of the future rather than a story of the past. So he was an awesome guest. I love talking to him. I want to talk to him some more. But yeah, like feel free to reach out to him or reach out to me to connect. It was a great show. But before we jump into that, I just want to tell you quickly that if you're on here and you're somebody that is looking for help, but you're not connecting with the traditional methods of recovery, we actually teach people how to get recovery without going to rehab. It's called connection-based living. And what we do is that we work with people in two different kinds of programs to identify the underlying psychological and emotional issues, work through those, help people set up a different structure in their life and connect into some purpose and meaning within themselves, a tribe, and a greater future direction. So that's what we do. We help people to get recovery without going to rehab. So if that sounds of interest to you and you want some help, but you can't check out of your life for 1, 2, 3, 4 months at a time, you can't be away from family, just give us a call. There'll be a book to call link below. Set up a time with us and yeah, we can sit down and have a chat. But that's enough from me. We'll jump into the show and we'll see you on the other side. Peace, everybody. I'm excited because we've been having a few international guests and we've got another one today. We got Mike from Las Vegas, but originally from New York. So in my books, that instantly makes you like kind of cool because people love New York. It's like where all the cool stuff comes from. How are you, mate?
I'm doing really well, Jack. Thank you very much for asking me to come on here. It's an honor to be here with you guys, with your audience today. So thank you very much. And I think it's pretty cool
Awesome.
being from New York too.
Whereabouts in New York are you from?
So I'm about 50 miles north of New York City. But like the metro train like runs up here, so it's pretty easy access to get to the city.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so how we start this is that we go with the 3-minute elevator pitch. So if you were to get in an elevator with someone for 3 minutes and you had to tell them your life story of addiction and recovery, how would you tell them? So go, and then we'll riff off that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I am a sober alcoholic is what I refer to myself as now. I waited as long as I possibly could to pick up the first drink. I kind of sipped off my parents and my grandparents, drinks at a very, very young age. But the first time that I got drunk with the intent of getting drunk, I was 9 years old. I was 11 years old when I blacked out for the first time. And I pretty much drank alcoholically and abused drugs like that for the next 25 years. Lots of consequences came along with my drinking, broken relationships, loss of jobs, lots of geographical changes, trying to escape the consequences. And my life kind of came to a screeching halt when I pretty much didn't want to live anymore when I was 33 years old. And I ended up in a rehab. And in that rehab, some pretty profound things happened. I was separated from my family at the time. At the time I had, a wife and 3 kids. My kids were 10, 7, and 4, soon to be 5. So I'm away in this rehab. My mom got really spooked when she heard that I just didn't want to live anymore. She was like, "You need help. are you willing to go to a rehab? And I was like, you know what? Fine. Yeah, I'll go. I was
Yep.
kicked out of my house, living at my mom's. I'm 33 years old. I got wife, kids, house, all, stuff. I've got stuff, and I'm living at my mom's house, and not allowed in the house, not allowed back in my own house. And so my mom was like, I think you need to go. I think you need help. So I said, okay. Now, prior to that, I had kind of tiptoed around the rooms of AA for a year, and I didn't
Right.
do anything. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't do any of the work. I came in, like I kind of slid in the door and I slid back out the door when the meeting was over. And I did that
Yep.
for about a year. I drank intermittently throughout that.
Yep.
And then I wanted to jump off a bridge. So here in this rehab, I'm about 5 days into the rehab. I went into the rehab on February 12th, 2008. It was February 17th. I was on the phone with my then 4-year-old son, and he was turning 5 the next day. And he said to me, hey, dad, I will see you tomorrow. You'll be at my birthday party, right? And I was like, I don't know, bud. My kids thought I was working. That's kind of what my
Uh,
ex-wife had told him, that I was working. So he's like, no, I'll see you tomorrow, dad. You'll be at my party. And he's like, you know where it's at? He's like, I'll see you tomorrow. And I hung up the phone, and I get chills now thinking about it. I literally hung up the phone and I walked into my room. And for the first time in my life, I realized that what I was doing was having a direct impact on the people that I loved most in my life. Prior to that, it was just like, leave me alone. I provide, I do this, I do that. Like I earned this, and I hit my
yep.
knees. I basically hit my knees in my room that day. I had nowhere else to turn but up. I was out of fucking answers. Like I was out of answers. And
Yep.
I basically, I was begging for help, and I was not a big believer in any sort of higher power at the time. I like kind of turned my back on God a long time ago when I was a young kid. And I basically was like, if you are out there, whatever you may be, I need help, and everything. I mean, I was bawling. I was absolutely just like beside myself. Everything I had ever done wrong in my life, every person I had wronged just was coming out of my mouth. And at the end of that, I said, if you help me, I will do I promise I will do everything that I can to stay sober. And I
Yep.
felt okay. It was bonkers. Like I
Wow.
literally like the tears like dried up. I stood up, and for the first time in a very long time, as long as I could remember, I just felt okay. I felt like there was no weight on my shoulders. The spinning in my head had stopped, and knot in my stomach, went away, and I just felt okay. And yeah, that was kind of like the start of my journey. I got out of that rehab 10, I was only there for 10 days. The insurance was it's kind of messed up here. They basically told me like, it was my first go around in rehab. So the
Yep.
way my insurance was, is they said, listen, we can only cover you for 10 days. But if you go out and you join IOP, intensive outpatient, and you fail your piss test, then you can get back in for a 28-day program. So they're basically telling me, go out, fail, and then you can come back. But I was
Yeah.
lucky enough I didn't have to fail. I believe today God put somebody in my place the first meeting I went to out of rehab, and that
Yep.
man took me through the work, and I've been sober ever since.
Yep.
So it's like the first promise I ever kept in my life.
Yep.
It was the first promise I ever kept.
Yeah. It's I've talked about it a lot. Like I'd be interested to talk to you about it and know what you think. But I did a lot of like 12-step recovery and don't do it anymore. Because I've got a few like just things that I struggle with the program and stuff like that. But it is really profound, or it can be really profound when you're, in the depths of despair at the start, and like you hear a message of hope in a meeting or somebody share something that you relate to. It can blow you away, can't it?
Yeah, and honestly, I think that like for me, I like I said, I kind of tiptoed around the rooms of 12-step program like for about a year, and I would like I just anybody that I heard a story like something like that, I just always, for my whole life, people that talked about God or stuff like that, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I had no belief whatsoever. Like I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I just wasn't into it. And I just thought it sounded too woo woo and stuff like that. I just kind of figured we're all here for a short period of time, live your life the best you can, and then bye-bye, you know? And
Yep.
I, it kind of like that whole God concept kept me out of the rooms for a very long time. And then like
Yep.
everything that I consider to be coincidences in life now, I don't really think there's any coincidences. I really do think that like everything kind of happens for some sort of intricate reason. Like, we're presented options and opportunities all the time. And it's kind of like, what decision do I make from that point that's going to lead me on a path, as I navigate through life, and like, I know that today, if I'm present in the moment, there are opportunities placed in front of me all the time. It doesn't mean that things are good all the time. It just means that when I'm faced with something, I actually can make a decision to do something about it.
Yep.
As to where in the past, if I was faced with like really shitty consequences, I'm either pulling the covers over my head, pretending it's not happening, running the other way, and it'll all go away someday. And guess what? It never goes away. It's still there when I come back from whatever state that I escaped to, so like,
Yep.
today I just know that like things happen for reasons. Like life is going to be lifey whether I'm sober or not. Just like now, like, being in recovery and having way more self-awareness. And I think that's really just what the 12-step program is. People just kind of, I think some people just get too tied up in like, just like people do with like with religion and stuff too. I just think that they get too tied up in just what it is or what they think it is, as opposed to what is it trying to achieve. Like all the 12 steps are literally just like, they just break you down. They broke
Yep.
me down. They just tear me apart. They peel back all these layers and like, dude, you're not completely in control of everything and everybody. You don't get to say what other people are doing, and like I would always try to manipulate situations. I always tried to go headstrong into things and I'll make this happen. And I did make a lot of things happen, but was I making them happen for the right reasons? What were my intentions and my motives behind these things? Like I got things that I believed I wanted, but maybe they weren't meant for me. And that's why I would lose them. So like the 12 steps kind of, instead of like putting a finger on everybody else and all of these consequences and situations as to, I wouldn't have had to do this if you didn't do that, that kind of thing. It tears all that down. It gives me way more self-awareness as to who I am, what makes me tick, how I integrate, like how I view myself, how I view you, how I view the way that I integrate with the world. And then I'm way more aware of like what I do wrong, not what you do wrong. Doesn't matter what other people do, right? Like I
Yep.
was always focused on what other people were doing. Doesn't matter what they're doing. I don't get to control that. Even if I'm doing the right thing, it doesn't mean other people are going to respond the way that I want them to. I just
Yeah.
have to, I get a lot more acceptance. I'm able to forgive. I have empathy for other people. It's just, it diminishes the ego within me and allows me to be like a productive human being on the planet, and then what it basically tells me after all of that is that I'm supposed to kind of go and help other people. I just, in any way, right? Like, I just want to be of service, and that's not like an AA thing. That's not like, that's just like, you can look at any of the early teachers, whatever, like whether it's religion, whatever, there is this, I truly believe that there is like a force within the universe, like this energy field that just ties everything together, and we all vibrate at like different frequencies. And like in sobriety and in recovery, if I'm like, on the beam, dude, everything is good. Everything,
Yep.
no matter if it's bad or not. Like I just have way more acceptance. Like, hey, this is happening. You get people come to me all the time. They're like, man, this happened and this happened and this is going on. I'm like, yes, it is. What do you want to do about it? Like, what do you want to do about it? In the past, I would just, I'd love to just sit in my shit. I mean, like everything's going wrong. I can't do anything. I'm paralyzed. But like now it's, we're all going to have problems. All of us,
Yep.
we all have problems. What do you want to do about it? In the past, I didn't want to do anything about it. I wanted other people to fix things for me. Today, I get to look at
Yep.
things like, okay, what do you need to do? What can you do right now that's going to start moving you in the right direction? It just gave me a lot more, it gives you a lot more like just awareness of self, and I'm obsessed with that. Like I'm obsessed with like, self-awareness, because it allows me to be a better person, not just for me, for everybody I come in contact with. And then it
Yeah.
tells me that I need to be accountable for like my actions. Like I did something on Sunday that I wasn't proud of. No, actually it was Saturday. Saturday, I said some things that I wasn't very proud of. And like after I said them, I'm like, God, why did you say that? Why didn't you just keep your mouth shut? And you know what I did? I apologized for it. Right. I as soon as I like realized like how wrong I was, I cooled off for a few minutes and then I had to make right, and I hate doing that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't like, nobody likes to go and say, hey, I was wrong, but
Yeah.
I need to do that, and in the
Yeah.
past, dude, I would have let that thing fester for months, years. There were things I had to like make right that had been sitting around for decades when I got sober.
Yeah. Yeah. You explain it really well. People always say you got to do the work, but they never say what the work actually is when they talk about 12-step programs.
Yeah.
And you're explaining it really well. It really is, when you do the 12 steps, it is a process of self-development in a lot of ways. You look at your behavior, your intentions, your past, just your past in general, and all the things that you've done, and then you get to kind of make new choices moving forward. So there actually is like a bit of self-development involved in it. Like, it's not just going to meetings, right?
No. And I think that's where people get like really like kind of skewed by it. Like I actually had this conversation with somebody last week and it went, and I'm not always like, I think that I can present a program or like, recovery to people in a good way. And I think that what happens is that there's this idea that all's an AA meeting or all 12-step programs are just somebody going in and it's poor me, this happened and all these life problems, and they're just dumping their shit all over the room, which that does happen in a lot of 12-step rooms. It does happen. And it's not supposed to be that way. And that's what it turns so many people off to recovery, is like, yeah, I tried to do that. And like, everybody's just like complaining about their problems. And if you see people like, and I say this all the time, like, look, if you want to complain about the same problem that you've been complaining about for the last 3 weeks, save it for your therapist. Like, you need to do something about it then. Like, that's what a program of action tells me I need to do. If I want to get out of myself, then I need to go do something about it. And there's so many people that are just like not willing to do the work, which we're talking about right now, is like that self. I need to look at self, not what's going on. Like, let's look at what's going on with me. What I found out in the whole process, like, people want to say like, alcohol or, marijuana, they're like the gateway drug. Dude, I like trauma is the gateway. Like that is when it, like, if you are, I know so many alcoholics and addicts that when I talk openly with them and like we're very vulnerable with each other and we're talking about like where it all started, it started with some sort of traumatic event, and why? Because I was really, really uncomfortable inside. I couldn't even describe the feelings that I was having. I picked up a drink and it took it all away. Oh, okay. Now my mind. So that's what you were talking about the other day when we were talking just before, where this disease that I have centers in my mind. Like, my mind is fucked, right? Like, so I have a broken thought process, and I had a broken thought process for a very long time. So my thoughts are skewed. When my thoughts are like racing the way they are, what is that going to do to me? It's going to like, it literally is going to affect the way that I feel. So my mind is racing, my stomach is in knots. And what takes that away? I use an external source to fix an internal problem. And that's me participating in the loop of addiction. Like, my mind is racing. I'm uncomfortable inside. I've discovered that alcohol and drugs take away that uncomfortability. I feel good, right? The alcohol and drugs just fix that for me. They are my solution, because I don't know how to untangle it by myself. I don't know how to talk through it with people because I can't even describe the way that I'm feeling. And I'm not willing to tell you what's going on with me. So this is my solution. And then when that uncomfortability comes back, I know where to get, like, what do I need to do? I just need to pick up another drink or a drug and it'll go away again. And that's just this constant cycle. And I don't know any other solution. So, I think that something that people in the recovery space need to do is really kind of talk more about like our emotional and mental well-being at a young age, like really kicking it to the kids that are young. Like, dude, there's nothing better than telling a young kid, like, dude, I was just like, yo, man, you don't have to tell me that, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, listen, you're thinking this, 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 and this. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. Nobody's telling you that you should never experiment with anything or anything like that. But what you need to do is you need to ask yourself, why are you drinking? Why are you taking those drugs? Is it just to experiment? Or are you actually trying to escape something? Because the people that are trying to escape something, they don't have a solution for when they try to stop. You know, kids that are just experimenting, they try it, they use, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, then life, you know, they start to grow up and they just stop. You know, I had plenty of friends that partied like I did, but guess what? They got off the merry-go-round just because life got real. And they were like, yeah, man, I can't do this anymore. Well, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stop like partying like that too, but I found I couldn't. Right. So, like, that's addiction. Addiction is having something that you want to stop doing. And when you try to stop doing it, you can't, you know, and you tell a lot of people, and it's nothing about willpower. It's like, I need to fix my thinking, you know, and that's what we were talking about, like with personal development. Like, I need to like dig into why do I think this way, which is creating why do I feel this way, you know, and like once I know how to do that, then I can fix it. Because if I can't identify it, I can't change it. So once I was able to like identify exactly what it was that I was feeling and where those thoughts were coming from, you know, then I was able to do something about it. And then I also learned in recovery, like, hey, you're not responsible for the first thought that comes into your head. Thoughts are just random a lot of the times. But what I would do is like, I would get this thought and I would think it's reality right away. And now I'm reacting on the thought, you know, as opposed to pausing for a second and going, where the fuck did that come from? You know, like, why did, you know, and that's self-awareness is like, I am not the first thought. I'm the thought behind the thought. You know, I'm the one looking in going like, wow, that's a pretty bizarre thought you just had. You know, where did that come from? And then I can dig in and be like, well, because this happened, and this happened, and you're overthinking it, you know, and then it pulls me back into the past, or I'm future tripping and like playing out all these scenarios that are probably never going to happen, you know, but if I can slow myself down and just go, dude, look where you're at right now. None of this stuff is going on. You know, like you're really, and I'm an overthinker. You know, I think a lot of addicts and stuff, you know, alcoholics and addicts can be overthinkers. And I can just play out all these scenarios or, you know, and I just need to learn how to slow down for a second.
Just a quick interruption, guys. I just wanted to let you know about one of the, we run 2 programs. I just wanted to let you know about one of the programs that we're running. It's the significantly cheaper option that is the online program that we run that includes an in-depth course and weekly group coaching, as well as a private online group that you get access to where you interact and engage with each other throughout the week and keep each other accountable to what we went through in the group coaching sessions, as well as what you learn from the online course. That program is absolutely on fire at the moment, particularly the online group community. We've got some really good eggs in there, some really good people, and people are really helping each other out, and we're seeing some awesome results, and people, you know, putting down a couple of $1,000s and completely changing their life. You get access to it forever. It's all completely self-paced online. The group coaching happens weekly, and obviously the online group pops up in your face all the time. So just wanted to let you know about that. If you're searching for help and support, you can't afford to go to rehab, maybe you can't afford expensive group coaching, and you're just not connecting to those traditional methods and ways of getting support and help, this program might be for you. So the book a call option is below in the description of either YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to us. Click the link and book a call with us, and we'll just have a chat and see if we can help. If we can't, we'll point you in the right direction. But it might be for you. It might be a really good way to help. Payment plans are there as well, to even make it more accessible. So just wanted to let you know, mainly because the private group is on fire and people are really helping each other. It's really cool. It's inspiring me. It's getting me to get into the gym and work out, and keeping me accountable to my goals. So I'm very excited about it. It's very cool. It's called the Wholeness Shift. But I just wanted to quickly interrupt and let you guys know about that. But I'll shut up about it now and let's get back to the podcast.
I love connection with other people because I have people like within my circle that I can talk to and I can say, yo, this is what was going on. And then they can be like, oh, that sounds pretty bizarre, like, and then they're a sounding board because I need outside perspective. I need some guidance from some other people because it's like left to my own devices, just like me and my higher power figuring out life, I'm back to the drawing board again, and I've done that plenty of times in my life. I have people that, like we want to call them like spiritual mentors or whatever. And I get this crazy thought and I'll relish in it for like days, and I got the solution to the thing. And then I kick it to him and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And he's like, okay. And I spew it all out there. And he's like, do you want to know what I think? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you're not going to like it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, dude, that's going to blow up in your face. Like, you need to rethink that. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And a lot of the times those things that are going to blow up my face are just because there's a lot of ego involved. I'm worried about me and my feelings and this going on. And like, it's pointed out to me, like, you are not taking into consideration anybody else that's involved in that situation. I need to consider other people's feelings when I'm about to do something. How is it going to affect others if this is what I'm going to do? And I never did that in the past, right? I just did what I wanted to do and like deal with it. Like today I can like actually slow down a second, be like, yeah, you're right. That's going to cause some havoc. I need to rethink that, but like, that's what recovery's done for me. It's really helped me with my thinking. And if my thinking is like a little more I can't even say a little more clear. When I have clarity around the way that I'm thinking, my feelings kind of come into alignment, and then I can identify what's going on, and then I can do stuff. Thoughts create feelings create the actions that I take, and the actions I take create the life that I live, but it all starts up here for me.
So what were those first like 30 days as being sober like? What was that like for you?
I was desperate. Like, we talked about, like, I was desperate, and like when I came out of that rehab, I jumped right in. I like, this person was put in front of me like the first, the day I got out of rehab, it was snowing, so I couldn't leave my house. And then the very next day, I went to a meeting, and I met this person who I talked with him for a little bit after, and like, he just kind of like, he was basically talking like we're talking. And I was like, man, this guy seems like he's got his shit together, and like, he literally was like telling me some things, that he had gone through like in his life. And I'm like, and you seem fine, and he's like, yo, man, I'm going to go to another meeting tonight. If you want to tag along, this is where it's going to be, I'll introduce you to some people. And that's what I think like helped me so much that time around, was that I got connected to other people that had already walked a path that I was trying to walk, and they had been successful at it, and then I kind of like started to take action, and I got involved, I like just took action in my life, and I was trying to clear up my past as I was living in the present. And then like that kind of moved things forward, and life got really, really good. Like the first 30 days for me were like a whirlwind of, they were all great. The first 6 months were great, but like, and then life hit, and then I remember like just feeling like really overwhelmed. And I call this guy up and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like on the phone, I'm just like ranting. I'm like frantic. And then he's like, I stop and he's dead silent. And I'm like, are you going to say anything? And he's like, are you done? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, where do you want me to start? He's like, the amount of things that you just said, he goes, my head is spinning. He goes, why don't you just pick one of those things that are on your plate right now, and let's just focus on that. He's like, you're not going to fix everything you're talking about today. He's like, let's just work on one of them. And those were like the little tools and stuff that started to help me in my recovery, because I always looked at the big picture and everything that was going on, and I tried to fix it all and nothing got accomplished. So like by being able to focus on like one thing at a time, and then realizing, bro, you drank and drugged for 25 years. You think that being sober for 6 months, like all of those problems are just going to go away? He's like, this is like a lifelong process of working on self. And that's why I don't like when they say things like in the rooms, like, I can never drink again. I can never do that. Like, it just seems so monumental. Like, I don't say I'll never drink again, because I don't know. I can't foresee the future. I just know for me, I can't safely drink or use drugs. Like I can't
Yep.
safely do it. Once I start, I don't know where it ends, like, and it usually ends in bad places. And I'm not willing to do that anymore today. Like I don't obsess about, like, I don't have obsessive thinking or cravings for drinking anymore. I feel uncomfortable sometimes. Like life happens and I get all twisted up, but I know that a drink is not going to fix it. Like that's the difference. I don't feel the need, like, I don't count days, like day to day. Like I know how long I've been sober, but I was never like a person that was like counting every day, because some of those people said, hey, bro, you don't necessarily need to count days. Just make your days count. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, now I like that. Like those were the kind of things that were placed in me. Like, I'm like, I like the way these guys are like talking and stuff. Like they were more about like, dude, this is about living your life. I didn't get sober to be miserable, and that's what they were talking. I'm like, yeah, me neither. Like, so then live your life, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I was told like, you don't need to be scared to walk in the aisle, down like the liquor aisle. You should be able to go any place, anywhere. Liquor will not be like, I just, it's gone. I removed it from my life and I know that it doesn't work for me, as opposed to feeling like I'm fighting against it. Cause if whatever we're resisting is going to persist, whatever you resist will persist. So I just kind of accepted the fact that, like, hey, bro, you can't drink safely. Move on.
Yep.
Now let's move on with your life. And I think it's a different approach than a lot of people like in some 12-step programs, do that. Just like, it's like, man, I don't want to drag my ass through life. Like I
Yeah.
did that. I don't want to live that way. And that's what I try to tell other people. Like, you don't need to live that way. You don't, but it is going to be up to you. I can't drag you along with me, but if you do some of these things, if you're willing to take some action in your life, dude, the sky's the limit, bro. Sky's the limit, and what's possible and not possible, not up to me. What is up to me is to get on a path moving in a direction that I'd like to head, and how things turn out is going to be up to the universe, to God, whatever you want to call it, but for me, like, it's not so much, the goal is not the end game. The goal is to like just engage in the process of life, and life is going to present amazing opportunities if you're engaging in it.
Yeah. It's amazing. You do speak well about recovery, and you have a very inspiring story. Can I ask you a couple of hard questions?
Sure.
Because people are always interested in this stuff, that are sort of new to recovery or listening to the podcast, wondering what they're going to do next, whether they are going to go to 12-step programs, or they're going to do something else, whether they see their psychologist, whatever it might be. So do you believe that addiction is a disease? Did you say that before?
I wrestle with this. I do. You know what I mean? And I have wrestled with that question over like the last 17 years. And I kind of was like, I don't, like, to me, I don't care what people call it. Like, if you want to call it a disease, if you're trying to do recovery, cool, call it a disease. If you want to say it's not a disease, cool, don't call it a disease. I just look at it from the standpoint of like, if you can just answer honestly with yourself, is your relationship with alcohol and drugs dysfunctional? If that's it. Like, to me, that's it. It doesn't matter like how they want to label it, I mean, and I've done some research, and it gets labeled a disease because it helps with like insurance, and there's money tied to it, and then they can put people in and insurance companies can get paid. Now they fucking create rehabs and they can keep this cycling door going. Call it whatever you want. People are dying. That's the way I look at it. Like, people are dying of alcoholism. Like, alcohol is the third leading cause of preventable death in the United States. Third leading cause. So like, and then we have fentanyl poisoning going on left and right, in the United States. It's crazy. Whatever you want to call it that. Just know that people are dying and they need help. And if you're one of those people that need help, recovery is possible. I don't like to get hung up on the labels. And the only reason I say like I refer to myself, like I say, I'm a sober alcoholic, meaning what? Meaning that alcoholism just means that once you start to put alcohol in your system, you have little to no control over the amount you take from that point. That's it.
Yeah.
That's as simple as it can be, because the stigma that I had around an alcoholic was a Bowery bum, like soiled himself on, laying on the street, picking from a garbage can, homeless, drinking from a paper bag. And that's what kept me saying, like, I'm not that, I'm not that. So, all right. So they changed that too. Like now it's not alcohol, it's not alcoholism. You're not an alcoholic. You suffer from severe alcohol use disorder. I don't like, that's why I say, like, call it whatever you want. Like, I have a dysfunctional relationship with alcohol, period. Is there help for that? Yes. Yes, there is.
Yep.
And you don't need to suffer from it. So skip the labels and just say, hey, I have a problem with the way that my body responds to when I drink. I got friends that can have a drink or two and they're good. Like the difference that separates me from some of those people is, like there was this guy who was telling a story one time. He's like, my brother-in-law is a completely normal drinker. I asked him one time, he's like, hey, why do you drink? He's like, why do I drink? And he got excited about it. He's like, I don't know. I guess I get some pleasure from it. He's like, pleasure? He's like, yeah. He's like, my shoulders loosen a little bit. He's like, I laugh a little bit louder. I just feel a little more at ease. He's like, and after that first drink, sometimes like I'll order a second one. He's like, yeah, you order a second one. He's like, and then what do you do? He's like, most of the time, about halfway through that second one, I start to feel it and I stop. You feel it and you stop. That's the difference. When I start to feel it, I hit the gas. That's when I'm like ready to go. The second that I feel it, I'm like, here we go. And I used to be able to go into drinking. I'm like, all right, we're going to take it easy tonight. I'm not going to get too crazy. I'm going to really just kind of keep it under control. I got to get up early tomorrow. That shit never happened. Most of the nights that I was trying to tell myself that, and I was really, really like firm on that feeling, those are the times that I got a DWI, that I woke up, or I woke up in a jail cell. I woke up handcuffed to a hospital gurney. I woke up in places where I didn't know where the fuck I was. I woke up in houses where I didn't know I was. Those nights were the ones where I like really tuned it up, so it's kind of like, that's the difference. So if you suffer from like, hey, when you tell yourself I'm only going to have this many, how do you feel after having a couple and you completely stop? Do you feel like, a little on edge, like you want more? When you're not drinking, are you thinking about drinking? Are you always looking forward to the end of the day so you can have a few drinks? But why? What are you looking to escape? I don't need to escape anything anymore. I'm perfectly comfortable being uncomfortable. Like that's like, that was some of the best advice ever given to me in early recovery. It was like, dude, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because times in life we're going to be uncomfortable. You can't escape it. You need to do something about it. So like, for as far as calling it a disease, I think that it's something that'll never go away, right? Like, I don't think that like, I've been sober 17 years. I firmly believe with every fiber of my being that I can't go safely drink, right? I know a lot of people that have stories very similar to mine that thought that, or that for some reason they went back out and they tested the waters, after 15, 20 years of drinking, of not drinking, and they tested the waters and they were back out there for, sometimes they, oh, I'm just going to have a few drinks tonight. They were out there for 5 years. They come crawling back into recovery. Like, whew, I've never, ever heard somebody say that's been sober for a long time, or for a prolonged period of time, that decides like they're going to go test the waters again. They never come back and say, dude, it's a party out there. You got to go check it out. It's so good. You got to go check it out. I've never heard someone say that. They always come back saying like, it was bad. It was way worse than I ever expected, and I'm lucky to make it back, and I'm not willing today to go out there and test it. So like, I don't know if it's a disease. Like, I just know that I can't safely drink, and I've been, I'm pretty sure that I'll never be able to safely drink again. And I don't even want to, like, there's those sayings like, you can't turn a cucumber, a pickle back into a cucumber. I really kind of, I can't, and I'm okay with that today. I don't have this like fear of missing out. There's all these new drinks out there nowadays. I've never had a seltzer. They didn't exist when I got sober. Like all this like seltzer phases and stuff. I liked whiskey, I liked beer, and I liked whiskey. Like those are the things I like to drink. And I liked whiskey because it was faster, but I was an absolute menace when I drank straight liquor. Like if I was just drinking beer, I think that things didn't get too crazy, but because I drank hard and fast. So when you're drinking straight liquor hard and fast, you could be perfectly fine. And people used to tell me all the time, like, dude, you seemed fine. Then it was like you got hit in the face with a shovel. Like you just like you were talking, and the next thing you know, you're speaking in tongues. It's like because I drank so fast that it takes time for the body to catch up. And I'm not slowing down. I'm not trying to gauge how much I'm drinking, and it would just like hit me all at once. So like I don't know if it's a disease. All I know is I can't safely drink, and I'm not going to test the waters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's letting people define it however they define it, and letting them ask themselves the questions. You had a couple of good questions there, like, do you think about drinking after you've had a couple? Like, do you want to go again? Or when you're not drinking, can you not wait to the end of the day? What are you trying to escape? When going back to self-awareness, when you get honest with yourself and ask yourself those questions, all the labels and stuff don't really matter. It's just more about you and what fits in your life and how that's going to roll out. So yeah, I agree with you. I do think I personally think, if I can tell you, like I believe that like we do, like recover, like in our thinking and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people that have unsuccessfully tried to drink again, but I know some people that have done it as well. And it's interesting, all the people that have success in whatever way they do recovery is that they put in like the work and they do the self-awareness stuff that you talked about at the start. And that's like the key and the critical thing about this whole journey is actually changing. Nothing changes if nothing changes. I love that saying.
Absolutely. Sometimes, it's funny, like when, time takes time, you say that to like normal people, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nothing changes if nothing changes. That means nothing changed. Correct. Right. So like, but I totally agree with you. I do believe that we do recover. We recover from what? From like this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Like I got my thinking back. I got a lot of clarity around my life. I got consciousness. I have awareness. That's what we recover from. Like, and that's what I think recovery really is like we're going from living very unconsciously, do some work, do some self-awareness work on yourself, help other people, and now we're living consciously. So in addiction, I'm living unconsciously. Recovery means that I'm living consciously. I'm aware of my actions. I'm aware of what's going on in life, and I'm willing to do things about it. So we do recover. I 100% agree that we do recover. And there are people in 12-step programs like, you never recover. I'm like, yes, you do. It actually, like in 12-step books, it actually says we recovered from alcoholism. It just doesn't, like, it's not telling us that, we're not, like, for me, it's like there's a difference between recovered and cured. I'm not, it's the same thing with, with like cancer. People are put in remission. It's still in them. It's just under control now. They're not cured of cancer, right? They've recovered from it killing them. That's it.
Yeah.
So I recover from like alcoholism, severe alcohol use disorder from killing me. And as long as I don't put it in my body, I'm good. So I've recovered from that, So like I 100%, I've argued with many people in rooms of 12-step programs and told them, it's not even an argument. I just state the facts. Like, listen, you do recover. And if you don't recover, then you're not doing enough work on yourself. If you're still, listen, the man that helped me, he like would point out that person is 10 years sober. That person has been away from the drink for 15 years. That person 5 years. That person 12 years. Listen to them speak. And I'm like, okay. And afterwards, I'm like, why am I listening to them? They're fucking miserable. He goes, exactly. Do you want your recovery to be like that? And I go, no. He goes, it doesn't have to be. He goes, they've never done a thing about their own lives. They just don't drink. They don't drink. They go to meetings. They bitch about their problems and they don't do anything. He goes, your life will be exactly like that, just not drinking if you don't do something about it. And that's the kind of honesty that I needed because I didn't want to live a life like I'm like, that sounds horrible. Right. Like, I'm like, now I'm fighting. Like, now I don't even have the solution to my uncomfortability. I'm just going to walk around and, like, crying and moaning about life on a daily basis. I didn't want that. And he's like, doesn't have to be that way. He's like, you can recover from the way that you feel. I'm like, all right. Yeah. I'm like, what do I have to do? He goes, I'm glad you asked. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is what these are the things I would suggest that you apply to your life. You apply some of these things to your life, you're going to get results, and that's what I became obsessed with that. I became obsessed with getting these results, wow, this is amazing. Like, I feel good. I'm handling situations better than I ever did before,
Yep.
And people were baffled. Like, people that knew me were like, you seem different, I'm like, yeah, or like, I remember one time I was probably like 7 or 8 months sober and I hadn't seen some people and they were like, hey man, you look great. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. I used to see you all the time. Like, did I look like shit before? Cause you never said, hey Mike, you look like shit. You just, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, nah, man, you look different. You got some more, everything you look clear. Like, my eyes weren't like glassed over. I seemed like I knew what was going on. They're like, you just seem like your life is heading in a good direction. I'm like, yeah, I feel that way, and that's what I would do. That's kind of what I tell people too. Like, things may seem very confusing in the beginning and they're going to be, like, people are not going to know how to respond to you that are like, especially the people closest to you, because they're used to getting a certain reaction out of you, like when things go wrong or something's going on, and you may not react the same way you did in the past. And that can confuse people, especially close loved ones. They're very confused by the way that we respond to situations, because whether things are good or bad, we tend to do things that we're familiar with, like, that's why I continue to participate in this, like, these shitty results that addiction is giving me, because I know the results. I kind of know, like, I know what to expect, and the unknown is very scary, and I tell people that all the time. It's okay to be afraid, and like, what was I afraid of? I was afraid of who I was going to become, and then people were like, man, everything that's ever meant for you is on the other side of fear. It's like, do it in spite of the fear anyway, and like, and that's where I started to get results in my life. Like, I was scared shitless to do certain things, but I did it. And then by accomplishing, like, overcoming some of those fears, then I start to build momentum and I know I can handle, like, I can take on more, and then I'm willing to face these things in spite of the fear, So, like, I think those are, like, a lot of things, people that are still miserable are unwilling to do.
Yeah, 100%. Can I ask you, because people will be interested, so just in general, I went to the States and did some meetings in New York, and that was pretty cool when I was doing 12-step programs. And I did notice that America, it's probably just true across the board, it is a lot more like religious than we are in Australia, and God features heavily. How heavy is that process been for you in recovery, and how hard was it to wrap your head around that? You said you struggled with it at the start.
I did. I struggled with it, like, a lot at the start. So, like, what for me personally, like, I think, like, spirituality is a journey for everybody to go on.
Yeah.
Being spiritual in nature and, like, is a journey, and it's your journey. It's somebody else's journey. But yes, I think people can get, like, kind of tied up. Well, most of the meetings happen to be in, like, basements of churches, right? Like, here in the United States, like, most of the meetings, like, unless people have a clubhouse or things like that, but
same in Australia.
So a lot of the meetings are in churches. So, like, you're telling me this is not a religious program, yet I'm going to a very religious place to go to it, and I kind of just, like, I did a lot of searching on my own in the beginning. Like, I was reading about, like, I read the Tao, I was reading about Buddhism. I was reading about like Eastern philosophies. I was digging into like I started reading some of the Bible, and like I was searching. I was searching for something to like grab onto. And what I found in the beginning when I was doing that was like it doesn't like to me like it doesn't matter. All of those early teachers, they're all pointing at the same principles. All of them point at the same principles, the same moral fibers that are guiding us in life. Doesn't matter what religion it is. Like, don't put a label on it. They're all telling you to be a good person, treat other people the way you would want to be treated. Don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, be honest, right? Stay open-minded. Like most of those early teachers are all teaching the same thing. So I wasn't hung up on like it kept me from being hung up on religion per se. And then over the course of time and my spiritual journey, like I have found faith, right? Like I have found faith, and and the more I put into it, the more I tend to grow as a person, and like so for me, like I it doesn't matter. Like to me, I just say to anybody, like, the belief in the unseen is what faith is, right? Do I believe that there's something out there greater than me tying this whole universe together? Yeah, I do. I believe like it's kind of crazy how stuff happens. Like, what is it? I have no idea. Does he have long hair, walk on water, and part oceans? I don't know. Right. All I know is that something out there is way more powerful than me, and I have faith in it. And like I said, my spirituality and my faith has grown over the years, and I have, I've walked away from it at times. I've been angry, at like why certain things have occurred, so I question my faith, like why would this happen if this is really meant to be. But then in the long play, when I look back, like certain events have to happen in life for other things to occur, and it's not up to me which ones happen and which ones don't, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind like, I don't know, man. Recovery has just taught me a lot about acceptance and forgiveness and willingness, and honesty. And like those are the things that if I'm applying them into my life on a regular basis, religion or not, good things happen.
Yeah.
So how, and that's the same thing I say, like we were talking about before. Hey, you want to go to church? Go to church. You don't want to go to church? Don't go to church. Still try to be a good human being though. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's and I used to laugh because like, I don't know if like, whoever's listening, this is like no offense, but like when I was a kid, like, people like in the Catholic religion, I have like family members that are Catholic. My kids were baptized and also like my ex-wife was Catholic. So like they got all of that stuff. And I always just found it funny. Like, okay, you can go be an asshole all week long. All week long, you can sin all week, and then I'm gonna go to confession.
Repent.
I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna repent. I'm gonna go do 5 Hail Marys and 4 Our Fathers, and everything's good. Okay, great. Maybe you showed up to church on Sunday, and now I'm gonna go sin all week. Like to me, that never made sense. It's like what I think the real message behind those early teachers is like you go into church, you get filled up, and you're supposed to take it with you, and you're supposed to go out there and spread like kindness to other people. Like if I smile to a stranger on the street, what do I usually get back? I'll usually get a smile back, or a kind hello. People are like, oh, hey, and I used to think that when I was in my addiction, I truly, truly believed the world was full of assholes and I was just living in it, because I like the responses I was getting from people were, it's what I was putting out. We
Yeah.
attract what we put out, and like whether you want to like look at that from a religious standpoint or not, have at it. Like it's the same concept. Like whatever works for you. If you don't want to go to church, don't go to church. But if you apply some of the principles that like recovery tries to lay out for people, your life will change. However that happens. And if some people, I know lots of people that struggle tremendously with that idea of a higher power and stuff, but they're still sober and they're still great people. Why? Because they do the other kinds of things, and I talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there like, you got to find the strength within yourself. This is willpower and blah, blah. Like, sure. There's lots of times in my life where I need to like pick my butt back up and move forward, And, like whether I say like, I get that strength from my higher power or whether it came from within, it does come from within. Like if I just want to lay in bed and cry all day, I could do that. But I need to get up. I need to go do something. So whether it's me putting my feet on the floor or like, God giving me a nudge, like, hey, go do something, whatever that intuitive, like internal thought is, like that's the thing I've been able to tap into a little more in recovery is like that intuition, that belly barometer that we get, it's like we know what the wrong thing is to do. Like you hear it in recovery, like people are always like, just do the next right thing. When I first came into recovery and I heard just do the next right thing, I'm like, you want to leave that responsibility up to me? Like you see where I'm at right now. Like, how do I know what the next right thing is? And somebody was kind enough to say to me, and I was like, listen, man, you may not know what the next right thing to do is, but I guarantee you know what the wrong thing is. So just don't do that. And I could wrap my head around that because my choice always in the past, when I was drinking or drugging, I made the wrong choice. So I know, like, when I'm faced at that fork in the road, sometimes I need to make the hard choice nowadays, right? Like I know like this is the easy way out, but I know that the easy way out is not going to fix what I have going on. What I really need to do is I need to put in some, I need to put in some effort and I need to work through this. And working through those hard things, that's when I grow. And that's what I want to do. I want to continually grow as a person. It's about progress, right? Like I think that like you can sum up happiness with one word, progress. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm continually making progress in my life, the byproduct of that is happiness. I'm going to feel good. If I just sit around and mope all the time and like, wallow in my depression and misery and anxiety, how do I feel? Very uncomfortable, right? I need to be trying to make progress on a regular basis, working towards whatever that may be, pick something, work towards it. If it doesn't work out, work towards something different.
Yep. 100%. I love it. I think that's a good place to leave it. The conversation's flown. We've nearly been going an hour already.
Yeah.
Tell us, we were talking before we started just a bit about what you do. What do you do now for work? Like what's your jam? How do you help people?
So I have a couple of things that I do. Like, people can find me on Instagram. That's kind of where I hang out the most. I'm on Instagram as at Better Beginning Now.
I'll link that in the description.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. There's some things I've wanted to be doing that'll be rolling out in the coming months. Like I've been working on getting a podcast going. I would love to do that because I love having conversations like this. I want to have, very open conversations with lots of people. And what we are going to be rolling out is like a group coaching program, and I do have a private Facebook community. You can go to the Instagram, you can, click the link in the profile. It'll bring you an invite into the Facebook community. It's completely free. It's just a place for people to connect. You don't have to be an alcoholic or an addict, to join the community. It's really just about connection, because I truly believe that everybody is healing from something, and I think that connection with others and being able to talk about those things, and getting feedback and guidance from other people helps us all. So like the Facebook community is great. If you want to join that. And like I said, just if you kind of follow along on Instagram, you'll see the things as they're going to be rolling out in the coming months. Other than that, I also I do a lot in the online space with, an online media agency. So that's something else that we have going on too. That's completely separate from my recovery stuff, but
you're very busy. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
There's no idle time.
Yeah. But there is. That's the craziness. And that let me just let me end with that. Everybody, I truly believe that sobriety recovery was going to be boring. I wasn't going to be able to have any fun anymore. I had so much free time when I got sober and in recovery, because I wasn't just drinking and drugging. There were so many more hours available to me in my day to do things that I've always wanted to do, but never did. Recovery and sobriety is far, far from boring. I think it's something that hung me up, and I hear a lot of people nowadays like, oh, I'm just going to be bored. No, you won't. No, you will not. I've been more places in sobriety and in recovery than I ever went before. Seen some amazing places, met amazing people, so I get hyped about recovery, like I love it. I think that everybody should kind of dig deeper and look more self-awareness in their own lives and, grow as people.
Awesome. Well, mate, it's been a pleasure to have you on. I'm sure we'll get you back because there's plenty more to talk about. But have a good day and stay safe, everybody. Peace. Boom. That's the end of the show, everybody. Yes, we now do outros, video outros. We're stepping up the game. Hope everybody enjoyed that show. That was Mike from Las Vegas. His details will be in the description. Give him a follow on Instagram. He's awesome. He talks about the positive aspects of recovery, and talks about the possibilities. And the possibilities are there. And that shit's very real. Like, I always say, don't give up before the magic happens. Everything can completely change with one shift, one shift and everything completely can change. So don't give up before the magic happens. So that was Mike. I really enjoyed the interview. He got me up and about and inspired and ready to go. As we've talked about a few times, I hate promoting this stuff, but a mentor of mine has just told me that I need to put it out there because we're really helping some people change things up and need to put it out there and let people know that there is something different available. So we run a program called Connection-Based Living. Basically, in a nutshell, what we help people to do is get recovery without having to go to rehab. So if you're someone that is looking to make some changes, you're not connecting with the traditional methods of recovery that you see out there, going to rehab for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months or longer, being away from family and friends, all that kind of stuff. We might be able to help. We've got a couple of different program options, a couple of different styles and ways in which that we do that at a couple of different price points. We might be able to help. That's Connection-Based Living. The book a call option is below. I know it's really hard to book a call and put some time in with someone. Seriously, it's not going to be a hard sell or anything like that. We just want to help people. I just want to help people. This shit has fucked up my life. So just trying to help as many other people out the other side as well. So book a call. If we can't help, we'll point you in the right direction. There's no pressure or anything like that. So details for that will be below. And we'll see you in the next episode. Hope everybody has a good week. We'll be vibing in your ears again soon. Peace.